The South Kongress podcast is a lifestyle show that sometimes crosses over into mature territory. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests who come from different backgrounds and experiences. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, here at DreamCon 2024, my man EE.
What's going on?
Not too much. It's always interesting doing things like this with somebody close to your age.
Yeah.
Because depending on how old your big cousins are, right? You probably saw Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the GameCube, PlayStation, on and on and on. As somebody now working in esports,
Yep.
How weird is that to know, like, you got parents, you got grandparents who are like, yo, what are you doing with this? Go find something more important to do. To now you're like, no, guys, I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because I remember, like, growing up, like, we really didn't have much, right? Like, humble beginnings, as they say.
Right.
But, like, I remember the one year my mom had saved up a lot. She got me the Nintendo GameCube, right? This is like 2002, I want to say. And because I played other systems, obviously, at friends' houses and stuff like that, at cousins or whatever. But, like, when I got the GameCube, like, I remember the first game I got with it was a game called Super Smash Bros. Melee, right?
Never heard of it.
Okay. Okay. It's a very good game. In fact, I got to give it some love because up until even currently, it still has a very active and thriving community.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, right? But, you know, that was like my first introduction to, like, really falling in love with a game because it was finally something that was mine. And I remember telling my mom one time, I was like, man, I wish I could be like, go pro in this and make a lot of money. Because at the time, like, I remember, like, there's this MTV show. It was like my True Life or True Life as a Gamer, something like that.
It was True Life, and they would do like, I remember like True Life, I'm a pro wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah.
But it actually showed like people in Halo and even in Melee like doing actual things. I'm like, I'd love to do that sometimes. But back in the day, like it was not as well broadcast like that. There's no money involved. So like my mom would be like, yeah, maybe one day. My dad was always very realistic. Man, if you don't get your ass in this and study, like, you know what I mean? Which is fair. You know what I'm saying? He's a parent, he's doing his job. I get that, no worries. But like you fast forward to like when it actually started taking off and like, you know, it was just in TV back then, but streaming became a thing. And man, I was very invested in playing. Like I got ranked a couple times. Like I played multiple Smash titles. And when they first started streaming tournaments, I got eliminated pretty early, right? So I remember the first thing I did was like I went over and sat down on this little crappy mic, this little crappy setup, and I just started talking. I talked for like 8 hours because I didn't drive. What else I was going to do? I got eliminated early. What else am I going to do? So I just sat there and talked for 2 hours or 8 hours. And then I remember I checked the YouTube comments. This is like 2 weeks later, right? And they're like, man, who is this guy? He's funny as hell. You know what I mean? Oh, man, this guy, he's a yapper, but he's a good one. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, people like this. So I remember I decided at that point I was going to dedicate a lot of my time into more of the commentary side of things as opposed to playing. Because I was like, maybe this could take me somewhere. Because I'm like such a huge WWE fan, NFL fan, basketball. What helps elevate those sports? The commentary, right? I want to do the same for gaming. And that's just where I've been ever since. And it's nice to go to a family reunion and be like, yeah, you know, gaming's taking me to Dubai before, you know what I'm saying? Just throwing that out there. Ain't nobody got nothing to say except, oh, you got any pictures?
Yeah.
It's a lovely feeling. Sorry if I talk a lot.
No, you're good. I try to explain that to people too. Like sometimes I get like, have you ever thought about wrestling? I'm like, for what? Like the wrestlers are good at the wrestling.
Yeah.
They need somebody to accentuate that. And that there's room for that too.
Absolutely.
I remember being probably a junior in high school. I went to a magnet school as part of a larger school. So, you know, like I was playing ball. So like fourth period after lunch, I was always like in practice. But the guys I hung out with at the magnet school, they would never eat lunch in the lunchroom. They would go to like one of the portables on campus and they were playing Smash.
Really?
That's when I knew, like, because again, I had Smash Brothers on 64.
Yep.
But the GameCube one, it was different.
It was.
They were taking time out of their day to get together, plug all them controllers into that purple GameCube. They were going crazy. What is it about that game that changed so much? Like, of course, it's a fighting game, but it's also, at that point at least, not a fighting game.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's different, and so many clones and everything exist now. What is it about that second iteration of Smash that changed so much?
Well, you know, it's interesting because like the first one, like they marketed it as just like, it's just a, you know, get together with your friends, just a big old beat 'em up. You know, essentially what would now become like, it falls in that genre right now of platform fighters, right? And that's what Smash led the way in that, right? Shouts to Sakurai, just did an incredible job. But the differences between the 1999 version, which was on 64, and the 2001 version, Melee on GameCube, is to me the refinement. Like it just jumped ahead so many levels. And 64 is still a great game. People still play it. But like when you look at how polished Melee is, like it sets it. It's the reason the other Smash games has such high standards attached to it, because like you got to live up to this, because people are still playing this game over 20 years later for good reason. It holds up. The graphics are great. Like the graphics, the move sets for the characters are all so unique.
Yeah.
The addition of those stages, you know what I mean? Like the fact that there's actually a pretty good 1v1 mode, you know what I mean? Like and there's so many additional things too. Like you could play, like if you're like, I don't know, like I don't want to say casual, but if you're just somebody who wants to play the game and enjoy all aspects, 1v1 mode, like I said, you can play different modes, like small melee, lightning melee, like giant melee. There's so many different ways to enjoy the game. It's crazy. And on top of that, the competitive aspect just makes you want to always realize or always learn more, because there's always something to learn. They're still figuring out tech all these years later, like to the point where these hands couldn't keep up, man. These hands couldn't keep up. That's why I went to Brawl, I went to Smash 4, I went to Ultimate currently, because I wanted to try the other games, because obviously they added more characters and stuff. But nah, man, it's just like it was just leaps and bounds ahead of what 64 was, and we didn't even know it then. You know what I mean? Like through the years of seeing how it's holding up and how the community just keeps fluctuating with like more and more people, it's really astonishing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy.
It's held on for a long time. You talk about your hands can't keep up. We're doing this like a week or two after the new NCAA came out.
Yep.
And now
that game's a banger.
Dads are struggling to beat their children.
Yep.
Because they've had like a 10-year layoff. What is it like now? Because again, with the game holding on that long, the community's changed so much.
Yeah,
sure. It went from, again, guys my age when it came out, 16, 17, now damn near 40.
Yeah.
Right? And so what's changed like in the community as like, again, the game didn't change, but the people changed? What have you seen age-wise as differences between what the community was and what it is now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this isn't just like a Melee exclusive thing. This is a Smash Bros. Thing in general. Like, from what I've seen is when I came into it, it felt like there was a lot of people who were like around the age of like 17, 18. And, and then the guys who were like maybe like 24, 25, some of those were like the big hitters, right? Now you got these kids here who are like, I want to say like 14, anywhere from 14 to 16, they're capable of winning national tournaments.
Yeah.
Like, and I attribute that to the fact of one, the ability to play online has become so seamless. Like it's so much better. And then accessibility too. Like you have guides, you have videos, you have advanced tech at your fingertips anytime you need it. So you can spend a lot of time like really polishing your craft and like becoming a greater player. And I'll be honest with you, man, like it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm 36 and I'm just like, sit down, I'm gonna wring this kid's neck in the game. Not even close, bro.
Yeah.
Not even close. It reminds me really quick while my position is now on the commentary desk.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, it's a good seat. It's a good seat, okay? It's a good seat when you're facing defeat, okay? Because these kids these days are insane, and you gotta appreciate it's not just a Smash exclusive thing either. All around, man, like gaming, like the young bucks are the ones who I feel like are just taking the torch and running with it. And that to me is like leaving the game and the scene in great hands.
Yeah, I think like the greatest like warriors in the world are the ones who suffer through the apocalypse, and these kids are growing up in the worst times, and so they got to find something.
Got to find a escape, right?
Absolutely. Yep. What's your favorite call? Do you have a favorite call that you've made?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I get asked this question a couple of times a year, and people are always surprised, but I've been given the same answer for years. MLG 2015 in New Orleans. Okay, it was a tournament for Smash 4. There's a player named Zero and there's a player named Nara who are competing in the grand finals. Up until this point, Zero had won, I believe, 43 or 44 tournaments in a row.
Damn.
In a row. That's the streak. I think it's still in the Guinness Book as the longest streak. And Naira beat him there. And, it was just something that was in the air that day. I was just like, because the funny thing about MLG, that was the first event that ever flew me out, gave me housing and respectable pay.
Very nice.
So I don't know. I was just firing on all cylinders. Me and my boy TK, like we were just firing all cylinders. And I just remember like there was a rumor that a character named Shovel Knight was going to be added to Smash, right? And I remember there was this one line I got where Nairo got this sick kill on Zero, and it was like the last game. Like you knew he might actually win this tournament and the streak. And I was like, guys, we don't need Shovel Knight. We don't need Shovel Knight in this game. Nairo's out here digging graves his damn self.
Very nice. Well done.
And I remember like I said that and I just kept going. But like that has been quoted at me forever. And every now and then I'll go back and I'll watch that set. And I'll be like, dang, I was on something that one. Like that, the hunger was at an all-time high to deliver at that event. And hands down, that is my favorite event grand finals that I've ever casted. Same answer every time.
Who were some of your favorite commentators growing up? Not just esports, but
that's easy. JR and the King for WWE. Because honestly, that's one of the reasons I thought I could actually I could actually become a commentator because I would watch WWE back in, or WWF back then, but WWE now. I'd watch it back in the day, and I would always like just crack up at these guys. And I remember like to the point where I would offer my own commentary, just sitting down there, just watching myself. I would offer my own commentary and just have a good time. And I always thought to myself, like, man, if I am passionate about something the way that JR is passionate about wrestling, I think if I could really put that out there, I'd be amazing. And sure enough, like I fell in love with Smash Brothers. I've been in love with Smash for years upon years through multiple titles. And I feel like anytime I cast, man, like that's the same kind of energy and love that I want to bring to the game and the craft that I respect the most. So I always got to give it up to JR. That's my guy.
I feel like I know the answer to this one. If
What's
you
up?
couldn't commentate esports, what would you commentate?
If I couldn't commentate esports, yeah, I mean, wrestling, I'd love to get into wrestling. That's still a goal of mine right now in any capacity. I'll be a sideline reporter. I'll be in the crowd. You ain't got to use me on the main show. You could just put me on the TikToks, whatever. NFL, I love NFL, NBA as well. Like those are my big three sports, because wrestling is a sport, that I really am in love with and would love to just do anything with them.
Yeah. Look right into the camera.
What's up?
We are at this amazing Black convention.
Absolutely.
You see these kids running around.
Yep.
Making your own way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tough to explain to somebody. You know, we're told, especially like guys our age.
Yeah.
Go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, everything's great.
Sure.
And then, you know, us being about the same age, I know I graduated college literally into a depression. It's like, oh, now you got to figure this out. Now, you look like 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
Again, you've made your own way, you've created your own lane.
Mm-hmm.
What's one piece? Because the whole manual, it's tricky when you try to give step by step because it don't work like that.
Correct.
One piece of advice to the youth about figuring out their own lane, making their own way, and creating a career for themselves.
Oh, man. I mean, the first thing is you got to be honest with yourself, right? If you're somebody who's pretty soft-spoken, maybe commentary is not going to be for you because you can't really force yourself to be outgoing. You know what I mean? Like you get comfortable in situations and eventually like maybe your guard will get let down a little bit, but you'll never really be in a position where you need to be that guy because you got to be that guy to be on the microphone sometimes. I'm just keeping it real in that aspect. But that doesn't mean you can't be involved. You can't be somebody who's like, why can't you be a great streamer? Why can't you be a great player? You know what I mean? There's so many other avenues to go down when it comes to the gaming world and the gaming landscape. Like don't be mistaken in thinking being on camera is the end all be all. Like I have so much profound respect for the producers of so many events I've worked on. I see all them knobs and switches back there. I'm like, I could never, you know what I mean? So being honest with yourself about what you really want to do and how you want to pursue it. Like don't make it your entire life, but treat it like any other hobby. Dedicate a healthy amount of time to it, polish the craft, and maybe it'll take you somewhere. But I tell people like who stop by my stream and they're like, man, I got some homework to do, but you're live. I'm like, nope, you're banned. Go do that homework. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm serious. I time people out in my stream. They tell me they have homework to do because I'm dead set on the fact that like education needs to come before everything. But if that education and your hobby can one day, you know, maybe kind of come together and culminate into something beautiful, why not?
There we go.
You know, I'm sounding like a dad right now. I'm sorry, guys. That's true.
Semi-professional yapper to professional yapper. I appreciate your time.
Oh, man. This was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.